That was it. The last juror's decision. According to the Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are to suspend, and the proceeding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh. There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement to the case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections? Mr. Sato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before? Footnote in your Encyclopedia of the British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are to suspend, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation explanation of the jurors at this point. Summation? Examination?
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you've been there resurrected? Ah, judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't give such an antiquated model by mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Mrs. Sato? The so-called summation examination? Oh, one moment, and I'll read it about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Typical Nipponese. Alright, Naruhodo, I think I understand. Under the procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal them by changing their leaning and reverse their decisions. If it says here that... If successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions? Yes, in time has gone by, the barristers will use something like an exam to attempt to influence the jury's decision. That procedure becomes something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in the day of age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that, although it might be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? A summation examination, our last possible option. I'm not forgetting it. The defense wishes to assert its right to summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital of the city, and our most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very high standards to the judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But it's our right. It's our right. I believe I can prove violent trial. The defendant's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Eh? Well, I'm not, There was no mention of this in the letter I received. You see, so... All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they will have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most regular. No mention was they made before. I'm really hold with this justifying lark. That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then. The summation examination? The defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. There might be an opportunity we've been looking for. To turn the trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds in which you find the defendant, Nathan McGlided, guilty of the most serious crime. The juror's contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it had to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers, with fares totally 20 pence. He struck the cheap next to him, just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I've simply typed in collade. All statements made far. Drawing the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above our 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing the poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them, and use some of my very persuasive language. Just a moment, Miss Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately. Once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it will recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more enchanted they might become. And what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to prove them wrong. I'm just citing what I've read about the British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make their arguments. What do you mean? Well, as members of the jury were randomly selected members to the public. They may appear to be a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. That would also make a lot of sense. We must listen to it very carefully what each member has to say, and see if they're identifying contradictory statements. If we can, then we can contrast the statements and pit on the corresponding... Yeah, okay, good. I see. So the contradictions in what the 2 or more juries were looking for. Which way then? It's similar to regular cross-examination. Oh, yes. I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements, and pit the jurors against one another, break them down. Alright, if I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Alright. The defense rebuttal. There was no one else at the time to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory and seems for passengers. You trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. Wait, interesting.
Objection!
Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear myself with Blaine's name, then I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the ground testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus at the time in question. According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, who took 20 pence in fares. Right. I have this precise details neatly typed in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us that the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That is a fair and convenient single price. Just the way London's carriage should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man? Why? The 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication... it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are all different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes, in other words, the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible. Here was another passenger we heard nothing about. Good gracious! This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all, trustworthiness is a watchword. The figures your coachman claims are most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? It's again, master. I think you ought to consider that the trial will end now. The news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he let a nefarious character ride his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Simple. Just light another fire. Mike Buck here. You simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of these set of scales. Hold your horses there. Coachman, we're all in agreement. Why do you have to... Wait till I get my hands on you. Beppo. This is very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir? I'm going to do the same. Okay! For the love of Mike. Not you as well. A penny can be a difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? For I, think it's only proper that we hear from the witness again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! We can now manage to change 2 more jurors' minds. We can force the trial to continue. 2 more, actually. Is there something else that's been bothering me about the couple of their assertions? Then you must strike next. You must pit more jurors against each other. Show another contradiction in your assertions. Yeah, let's go! Well, the scales of the justice have now shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Nancy, you have the floor again. Continue with your examination. Changing my lean to innocent. I'd like to hear what they'd say myself. There was no one else in the carriage at the time, so it has to be him. Then he struck cheap next to him like this. I say it must be absolutely brilliant. I've simply typed a logical statement and collated all the statements beneath this fire, and drawn a logical conclusion. He struck the chap next to him like this. A brazen, I say, absolutely brazen.
Objection!
I can see your motions, you know. Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel. Post haste. Oh, dear me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. We've heard from more than one witness that they all allegedly saw the actual moment the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, junior number 3. What? Can't you see I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Want to test me, do you? Like this. A fellow struck him without getting up. Just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony, quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh? Is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand, it was like this! He stabbed him, the poor man, after he'd collapsed on the floor. The catchman said so. Don't move! Look at these 2 jurors. He struck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor? Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches! What muddle? What this tells us is that there is a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh! But why? Why in the dickness would they lie? I don't know that yet, but I know is that the trial ends at this point. We may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh dearie me. I can't abide by people telling lies. Let's go. The scales. I don't believe it. Isn't this a comeback? Hold it. Wait. Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. In his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, Duck Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What if the 2 witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus, and his son Danny saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again. This only lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, But why? Who are you calling Dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. What are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the 2 witnesses see 2 different moments at the same crime? Stabbed once at the abdomen. It is out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What? What are you talking about, man? What could possibly say that? You don't realize I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we need to see. I say 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments at the same crime. If that stays out of the question, show me proof. It looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is by presenting with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments at the same crime, as proven by...
Take that!
In this victim's autopsy report, according to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed at the abdomen only once. Yeah, only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely 1 time. Which means the witnesses can't possibly have seen it 2 different times. Alright, I can see defeat. Wait, that means the 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done this in Naruhodo. We've won. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut up, you trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we've had conscience. I said shut your trap. I know a lie when I see one. And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take the razor sharp blade and shave every last hair of his head. That is weird. Please tell me he's a barber. Well, in quite a remarkable turn of events, the defense examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 guilty and 4 not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority for the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witness to return to their places. I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zieks, continue to substantiate the prosecution, if you please. Yeah, he's pouring the wine. Oh! Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it makes seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zieks? Is it cold in here, or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honored a deathly silence, and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There's nothing so hard to prove itself as in truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Okay, he's getting pissed. Bring forth the witness once more. Witnesses, I trust you've heard the summation explanation we have just had to endure. Oh yes, sir, I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh yes, sir, I heard it. Sir, on the end, the coachman, I believe it's Beppo. Yes, sir, my lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you attempted to veil the presence of a 5th passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh, this is good! This is good! Now that I witnesses, I hereby call on to testify to the court again. Explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. I only could carry 4 passengers that night, I swear it! Well, for one, I was told to pay 5 pence on the bus. He valued us a fare. He did, and then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw Mr. Glyde stabbing the man. Everything I said before the stands. Yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. How do you know that? Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom first passenger conjoined into the existence of my leasing friend never existed. The confusion had arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage. Beppo, explain yourself! My terribly sorry, good master. The guild fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. And I am to understand that you've been overcharging by the passengers with a penny a fare? It's too cold, and the last run of the day is half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm so sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo! A disgrace! And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild! If I may, sir, I have to pay tempters to the bus at last week. What?! 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. We've done arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures. Well, that adds up something. Well, it would appear that the aforementioned misgivings have already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, Your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. They are nervous now. I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it, but, well, for once, I was told I had to pay 5 pence from the bus. You failed with us on the fare, and then I saw a blood curtain inside as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw Mr. Man. Everything I said before stands. Oh yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did.
Hold it!
And explain that. Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor, and described as the assailant holding the knife in an ice-pick grip. I suppose. I might have, yes. Put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horse and I saw her scream from the front seat of the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. When it turned around, yes. I saw it to skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up at the midriff. That's right, and the fellow holding it handle was an famous man, yes. So, in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all? I really thought about that, but when I was go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing. Interesting. Are you okay, sir? That's what I was looking for. Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed, and what are the chances of that? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment of the crime was committed? Some days are like that. Wait, what did he say? He didn't really see it. What are the chances of that? There's no chance, actually. Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through the skylight on top of the omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. I know I saw. I remember at the Ballarat Day. It was a grim scene, and I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot in my collar, my lord. I would ask that you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that, alright. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Did you think you'd forget the sight of the blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed the man? Not long ago, this trial very near came to an end. Somehow, we've managed to keep our chances alive here. I can't waste this cross-examination. I need you to bring some new facts to light. If you're not careful when you press the witnesses, the danger is that the jury will end up believing something unhelpful, as he did before. Maybe, but we can't let the fear of that happening. Yes, you're right. You need to pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of reaction among the witnesses. Remember, if you have happened to spot one of the witnesses reacting strange, don't hesitate to pursue them with a reason. Did you think I'd forget the sight of the blood-soaked hands after the butcher?
Hold it!
Blood-soaked? Ahem, well, perhaps soaked is laying it a little bit thick, but... Anyway, There was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. And you saw that from the roof? Through the skylight? Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had pretty good view. And there was a lamp inside the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure what I saw. Banker's latest statement. I feel sure something's not quite right about it. When you feel something doesn't add up, Mr. Naruhodo, that's when you should have a good look through the court record. Not long ago, the trial nearly came to an end. I think I got that right. Let's see the history again. It's on through the roof through the skylight? Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. Ahem. Well, Soka's a little bit thick. You saw him from the roof through the skylight? Well, that skylight's probably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp inside the carriages as well, so I'm quite sure what I saw. There was a lamp inside the carriage. There is a lamp inside the carriage. Nothing's taken out. So actually that honestly might be a little bit credible. And the scene of the crime does show a lamp present. He failed us on the fair, and he did. I saw that blood curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
Hold it!
This blood curdling sight. You meant the murder, I presume? Yes, sir. My loathsome sight. No one should have witnessed the horrors in the eyes of the man at the moment of his life was taken. Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. Oh, good gracious! Really? We have another witness who did, however. The banker has already testified to it. But Mr. Frost didn't actually see the point in which the victim was killed. Mr. First. Right, lady first. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the bank ejecting me sharp, and that's when I looked to see through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out of the belly, and covered all in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating. I tell you, I saw Mr. McGlide die before his hands. Let's try this again. So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGlide, stab the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him? That's what I said, isn't it? It bothered me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much to talk about. The fifth passenger. As of yet, zero evidence. That's when we were wasting time all this for, eh? It's black and white. This man's guilty. Some Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was. So you saw the defendant stabbing him who was sitting next to him? That's what I said, isn't it? What happened before this was? Beyond death, zero evidence. You saw the defendant Mr. McGlug stabbing the victim who was sitting next to him? That's what I said, isn't it? That's what I said, isn't it? Let's see. I really don't get this. Maybe we should do a little more examining. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as I thought we know any of London's gentry personality, is it? Yeah. Actually, I wonder. Oh, wait, we'll not find Mr. Shump's name inside. Let's see what we can find. Imagine if we actually do find his name inside. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen after all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness. What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that be something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh yes, of course. The banker. Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, didn't he? And look, the repayment day is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but could be very useful information. Okay, same results after that. And nothing good there. I'm glad I took a peek. Before I once was told I had to pay a fare pen for the bus. Let's press him. Does that mean everyone on the board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4? Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir. And I told you what I did. It's a fair 5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of. So the so-called discrepancy you may have learned my friend identified was nothing sort of. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead, and buried. Or non-existent. I'd have been happy if it had been ever existed in the first place. I swear, but... pressing him is not going to be relevant. Let me check that again. Nothing with Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jarred with me. The man's guilty. Hold it. When you say yes, step next to him, he hesitates before a question.
Hold it!
For a brief moment, he hesitates before answering the question. Well, just need to reread that again. He hesitated before answering the question. So you saw him defend Mr. McGlide standing with the victim, Mr. Mason was sitting next to him. Actually, there was only two of you at the carriage, wasn't there? Yeah, not much talk, yeah, okay. Alright, stabbing next to him. Then what was his sixth? That was the sixth statement again. Blood soaked? Ahem, well, it's lying a little thick. But anyway, there's blood all over him. Yep, blood all over too. Let's see if there's a small contradiction. Alright, we're getting all that again. Yeah. Let's go back to that sixth statement. Blood-soaked hands. Of course! That makes much more sense.
Objection!
Let's see this. Blood-soaked hands? Well, I admit that soak might be laying it a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. You made a mistake, sir! Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGlide, on the night in question. Oh yes, right. And certainly it does appear to be a seizable dark-colored stain here. But I'm sure you can clearly see. It's only one right-hand glove? Oh, I'm panicked. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. Yeah! But, no! That can't be right. So you're the liar here, then. That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said, in both hands. Look at them. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony in question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't in both hands, it was just only one. And the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands. Which means there is a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Gar! Why? I'm a city baker for pity's sake, for my work should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some Gunner snipe. Sorry, members of society, don't be perverate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? No, it's not! Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Miss Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide in this trial completely. Something to show this man has compelling reason to hide this testimony. I do have evidence. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense is ready to present evidence. My judge, are you sure? Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had no reason to lie in his testimony. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. What evidence demonstrates the motive for the with this alleged deception in the court?
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGlide. Yes, a list of the innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion. The point is, among the names of the debtors in your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worthy of being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, would you say? Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGlad were to be found guilty of the murder. What would you become of your debt in that case? The documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, where the creditor defendant here may be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? That's correct. What's the point of playing a dead body? Is it not like the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw? In devious attempt to annul your debt to 20 guineas to the defendant? Oh! Seems like we broke him on that one. Order, order, order! My Bruce Fairplay. Yes, Mr. Lard. Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have the most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment at the time in which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your son speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. Alright, now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth in a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing the blood in Mr. McGlad's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which have here as evidence, is stained. So you keep saying. I wonder if it might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself, as it happened. Seeing what? The blood, sir, on the assailant's hand. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What? I'm not sure what to say here. The bloodstains is only on one. It would appear that we need further testimony from all your witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do you make myself perfectly clear? Yes. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial has seemed to have shifted slightly at least. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn the things around here. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment of the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see it myself, no. Not until I heard the scream. Anyway, the fact remains. There can't be anyone else inside the carriage, or we'll have seen. Well, lo and behold. In the truth of the fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. Not much incriminating is tantamount to what we saw the man do it. That really is not the testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating with the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no significant change to the facts in the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. The witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assassin. I really remember that. However, I suppose you might say I didn't see exactly when the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both the attacker's hands with blood on them.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands? Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one Miss McGlide has only signs of blood on them. That's right. The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGlide sitting on the other's fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing any gloves? That's correct, sir. And I saw blood on both his bare hands quite clearly. It's true that their dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused of the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGlide's gloves' hands. There wasn't blood on his hands? This is puzzling indeed. There must be a significance somehow. I'm sure of it. I didn't actually see it myself, no, not until I heard the scream. Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage. We all will have seen. No new evidence yet?
Hold it!
He said he woke up. Everything you saw in the instant went through the skylight on the roof on the omnibus. That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over. Oh yes, I remember shivering. It was so bitter. Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh, why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. It was locked? That's right, and the public bus service for P6 is not what I call fair play. Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gents inside just gestured for me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly on the warm cabin below. I can assure you, I wasn't looking down. I was glaring, long hard. That's precisely what I can tell you with the absolute confidence. If there was anything else in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? They might not have been able to, actually. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding the omnibus and witnessed the event through the skylight in the floor on the upper decks, is that right? That's right, yes? In that case, there's a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? My golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied. At the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger enclosed in the cabin in the omnibus.
Objection!
Encouraged by hypothetical mentoring, my Nepalese friend. Though the prosecutor demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. But first off, another term for Japanese, let's see. Nipponese. Okay, he's definitely playing fancy with all the Nipponese. Very well. I will hold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area with the cross-sectional plane on the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that the potential ex-passenger could have been situated?
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of the travel, whereas the seats in closed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin, which the passengers on the roof decking see through the skylight, is I've drawn here. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite of which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses could have been completely unaware of it. Yeah!
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I'm curious to prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been the other seat, which is out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? I have no idea. I have literally no idea. But as a proud citizen of the Japanese Empire, you will look to the sky and walk on. Make sure all signs and tears are gone. Go on. This isn't just a case of going on, Mr. Sato. Alright then. I'll go on. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. The response was desperate attempt by a man who has no notion for his limitations. A toast to hard lessons. I thought you smashed your glass! Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat. This could be it. This could be the chance of winning for the child to turn my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was... They say he saw him step right next to him. It can't be him. What if I were to present and Beppo? The history goes only so far. Well, let's try bringing him on the table. Because if they saw him stab him from the side, he could have hidden himself.
Take that!
Yes, concealed in the blind spot of the cabin that night, there's no other than this unsuspected passenger. Whatever so-called logic you use to arrive at that conclusion, it matters not. Because your answer has made one thing abundantly clear. His real blind spot is inside your head, and it will appear to be unusually large. You could have just said that's not right. Naruhodo, our task here is to defend Mr. Migladed, and we're working on the assumption that he is innocent of this crime. Yes, of course. Why? That must mean, then, that there was someone else on the bus beside with Mr. Migladed, the true culprit. That's right, exactly what I've been... Oh! Of course, when two people sitting inside the cabin witnessed on the starlight that night, they were victim and the real culprit. It does seem as though we've all been making a false assumption. The witnesses weren't looking at Mr. Migladed at all. The man has been sitting somewhere else. Let's not delay, counsel. This could be it. And this would also make sense why I couldn't think of a name.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin and that witness on the roof deck failed to see. Has to have been Mr. Magnus Migladed. Mr. Migladed? What are you talking about, counsel? The name of the defendant? I guess that also made sense. I forgot to realize... Oh, what the heck? You just threw that at the candles! What on earth? As I was saying, I think I remember hearing Mr. McGlade say he saw the victim across from him, but anyway, he threw his wine glass at all four candles. That is impressive, but also, what the heck, man? If I just scrape this chamber by smashing my hollow chalice, do forgive this discourtesy. Van Zieks! Lord Van Zieks! You could have ruined the property. People are taking their talent on the nations from the Far East, having a learning culture of their own. But I see they use their terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Let me explain in terms of even still of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were on side by side. Multiple witnesses have arrested the fact. It's very promising that the case is built.
Objection!
But in that premise, may I be wrong? What? It's premise. The victim was really sitting beside Miss McGladed. It creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet, we know the truth otherwise. Only one glove bears the gore remains.
Objection!
The point is, even at the face of the revealable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, their testimony remains unchanged. Exactly. They both admittedly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood on the passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
You know who's this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary. Order, order, order! What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense postulation is just that. Nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
When elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats. I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. Atop of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. That's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do notice such things, sir. And what particular styles did you sport, Mr. First? I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter? This style of hat makes no difference. There is no third passenger in the cabin. How can you be so sure? Because if there had been, the accused Mr. McGladed would undoubtedly have offered to dispose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin which he traveled. Ah! He did claim he did go tired. He was asleep. He's right. If there was another person traveling with the enclosed cabin on the bus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGladed would have been unaware of it. That is, unless he was asleep. There is clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGladed, to the stand? Well, what you say, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? I suspect he'll have already made full statements to the police. But what if there's some reason he's unable to speak freely? Miss McGladden is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been the most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord, shall I ask Mr. McGladden to testify or not? I think we should testify him. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGladden to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Ah yes, I need a little time to consider this. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGladden has to say. Get the man out of here, I say! It would be utterly illogical not to hear this testimony. When something he's doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild. Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say? Oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes, the juryman must be heard. Very well, the court will hear the defendant's testimony. The left, show the defendant once. Now, maybe what actually happened on that night will finally become clear. Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGlided, have you been listening to the discourse on the day? To be sure, I have, my lord. There are now 2 matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. The second, that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? Begad, no! This is just not my nature to hide anything at all. Just an answer to the question, please. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell yourself, or keep me mouth shut? Tell us what Mr. Glided. The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage in the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true? Aye, and 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened. You? What?! No, Magnus McGlided. That convenient excuse can't save you now. I'm truly sorry. So I am. Lord Van Zieks? I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was talking about the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was? Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known that the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into the courtroom, just like meself. I was only trying to spare her that. That doesn't add up. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. I'd like to ask, was this girl sitting next to you? Who is this young child whom you speak? That I don't know. You don't know? Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage at night. Never saw her before or since.
Objection!
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statement to be disregarded by the court. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in the courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. Ah, smoke! A fire! There's a fire! Look, someone's trying to get away. After them. It's no use. I can't see anything through this all smoke. What's going on here? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Balief, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus! Hereby call emergency recess. Balief, ensure the defendant in custody and clear the courtroom. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by Balief. Amid the scene of chaos of people stumbled over one another and desperate to flee the chamber. We had no idea what happened. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Oh my god! Talk about an ending.